Welcome to Canine Revolution Radio. Presented by Canine Revolution Dog Training, enhancing the dog and owner relationship through education, balance, and pack instinct.
Live. All right, everybody, welcome to Canine Revolution Radio, episode 6. Very important episode today. We're going to be talking about how to socialize your puppy or your adult dog the right way. Because we know there's the wrong way, and we know there's the right way. And
What way do we do?
We're doing it the right way, boys.
All right.
All right, so we're going to be talking about how to socialize your puppy the right way, and your adult dog. Applies the same to both. All right. Okay, so right out the gate here, let's talk about socialization to start off with. So we know that socializing either your puppy or adult dog, both of them, is one of the most, if not the most important thing you can do with your dog. In order to do it effectively, though, we need to understand what socialization is and why it's important before we go into the process of how we like to do it. Okay. Also, real quick, this podcast is not going to be a deep dive on the different developmental stages of puppyhood. That'll be something that we cover later in a separate podcast. Okay. But our goal today is just to give you a basic, clear understanding of socialization, what it is, and how to kind of do some steps to achieve that. All right. So there's a lot of myths out there when it comes to socialization. Things that, you know, you may hear you need to do, articles you may read, do this, do that. We're going to talk about a few of those myths. We're going to explain why they're ineffective and why sometimes those other things that people are talking about, whoever they are, some of those things can actually cause insecurity, reactivity, anxiety, or aggression. Okay, so we're going to talk through a few myths, a few scenarios, and then, you know, why you wouldn't want to do that. Okay. All right, but first of all, let's talk about the definition of socialization, because you guys know I'm a terms guy. I like my terminology. So
Me and Kevin can both vouch for that.
I still hear it in my head when I sleep.
if you're not sleeping with terminology in your brain, you're wrong. All right, so let's talk about the definition of socialization. So the definition is to provide a dog with positive experiences in close proximity to people, places, and things. So when we're breaking that definition down, what are we paying attention to? We're paying attention to that our dog needs positive experiences in close proximity. So not necessarily interacting with people, not necessarily interacting with, you know, dogs, places, things like that, but they need to have a good experience in close proximity to whatever it is that we're trying to socialize them to, right? You know, we do at some point in the socialization process want to have those interactions when the dog is ready for that, you know, but the key point of socialization is to give that good experience in close proximity, right? You guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key here is this puts you in control, right? So when we get to that point of doing a physical interaction, you're in control of that environment. It's not something like we're just forcing an interaction or letting our dogs dictate their own interactions, which is potentially going to set them up for a negative experience and be very counterproductive to socialization. So that's why we start with close proximity.
Mm-hmm.
Important thing is positive in that light. And in order to have the positive, you gotta know what you're looking at.
Yep.
You gotta know how to read the situation. You know, one of the biggest misconceptions I've heard is my dog socializes on the weekends when I let him loose in a dog park. And what's going on there?
Yeah.
Nothing. You're feeding bad behaviors at that point, you know.
Yeah.
So you gotta totally understand, you know, what you're looking at, being able to read the situation, read your dog, and understand to where you can provide a 100% positive experience.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, dogs they perceive the world. They're all their own individuals. So what may be a positive experience for one of your dogs may be a traumatic experience for one of your other dogs.
Right.
You know, so that's something to keep in mind.
So what I hear you guys saying is that you have to put yourself in your dog's perspective.
Yeah.
And look at what's going on from their perspective and see that it's positive from their perspective, not what you think,
Yeah.
what your dog actually is experiencing. And how are you going to do that? You're going to do that by understanding what they're communicating to you through their body language, you know, understanding kind of your dog's individual personality, which is going to take some time to kind of learn once you first get your dog. You know what I'm saying? Just because your dog's wagging their tail doesn't necessarily mean they're happy.
Yeah.
You know, a dog might wag its tail right before it bites you.
Yeah.
It might wag its tail because it's highly aroused or hyper focused on a distraction that they want to go and, you know, do things that it doesn't need to be doing to it. You know what I'm saying?
Anxious or, you know.
Yep.
I've heard all that before, you know. You hear it. Had two dogs interact, both their tails were wagging, and then out of nowhere, they started attacking each other. But they were happy. I don't understand, you know. So it's just a little common misconception, you know.
Oh, yeah.
A little misreading.
Yep. Okay, so all right, so we've defined socialization, kind of discussed, you know, one thing to keep in mind, your dog's perspective, not your perspective. Oh, they look happy. Oh, you know, they're having a good time. Are they really? Do you understand what you're looking at when it comes to body language with your dog?
Or they were smiling.
Yeah.
How often
the
do you
biggest
hear that
yeah.
one, right? Oh, they were smiling. Well, that means they're stressed.
Yep, stressed out, anxious, you know, that type of thing. So yeah, understanding what to look at enables you to provide the best positive experience possible. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's kind of talk about real quick the process of how we're going to provide a positive experience and how it's going to start. So it's not going to start, you know, when we're out trying to socialize. It's going to start before that. We got to set the groundwork. We got to lay the foundation. The way we like to do it here is we do it by developing engagement with our dog using their hunger or food drive. And we can also translate this later into using prey drive, such as playing with a ball, playing with a toy, that type of thing. But using the dog's natural desire for food or natural prey drive can enable us to provide them with a high-level positive experience that enables us to socialize them much more efficiently and also what's in the best interest of the dog. You know what I'm saying? So real quick, if we're gonna stay on the hunger drive, food drive topic as far as engagement goes, we want our dog essentially to enjoy taking food from us as a reward, you know, and some people may say, well, they're not doing that for you, they're doing it for the food. Well, you know, I control the food, you know what I'm saying? And it also makes it a good experience for the dog and for me. It's fun for the dog and for me if we're playing with food together, you know what I'm saying? So food is literally just a reward or a item that we're playing with. We're having a good time. It's enjoyable for the dog. It's enjoyable for me. They're not just doing it just because, you know, the food, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That kind of makes sense.
Think about it like your, you know, place of work. You know, yeah, I work for a paycheck, right? But you can have toxic leadership. You can have all sorts of things. Are you really just doing it for the paycheck, or because, you know, you respect the leader? Just depends on what's going on. But
or because you're coworkers, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You like hanging out, like
your pack,
Yep,
right?
pack
From
mentality.
the dog's perspective. So
Yep. Yeah, that paycheck's nice.
Yeah.
But I also enjoy spending time with you, you know, hanging out with you, playing with you, you know, all those types of things. Kind of like what we do every day, boys.
Hey.
All right. So another definition here, let's talk about engagement, because this is going to be the key to building up those positive experiences for our dogs when we get to the socialization piece. So engagement is building sustained focus and motivation on the owner or the handler from the dog, right? So when I say a dog's engaged, you know, I'm looking for a dog that's paying more attention to the owner or the handler versus the environment around them. You know what I'm saying? And you can clearly see that. You know, I remember way before I was a dog trainer, I had no idea about any of this stuff we're talking about. I was at a dog park with Sarabi here. You know, we were at a dog park. This dude walks in. He had like a Dutch Shepherd. He walks in into the dog park. His dog never left him. His dog was glued to him, like locked on eye contact. They were doing all kinds of stuff. They were playing tug. What was this guy really doing? He was doing engagement, you know, so he was well versed in the dog training world. They walked into the dog park, they did an engagement session, they walked out. You know what I'm saying? He used the dog park as a distraction, and he was socializing his dog to other dogs and other people. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that guy was doing. And that kind of memory has been locked in my mind. But, you know, when you see that, you know what it is. You see a dog that's engaged, you know what it is. If you have engagement from your dog, you know, you feel on top of the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that dog ain't gonna look away for nothing. That dog wants to be with you. That dog wants to play with you. It's having a good time. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, how are we gonna start off this engagement process? Number one, we're gonna do this in our yard or maybe in our house, just like a general training area on our property. You know, and what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be basically conditioning your dog to 2 words. What's the first one? Yes. So the first word is yes. The second one is good. So when we're talking about the word yes, all you're gonna do for this, you're gonna take your dog out to your training area, you know, yard. You can keep a leash on your dog, or if it's a small fenced in yard, you don't necessarily have to keep a leash on them. But let's say you're keeping a leash on your dog, you're walking around the yard, your dog looks at you randomly, right? So the purpose of the leash or the purpose of the fence is not to do anything other than allow your dog to not blow you off and go walk off and do something else. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna limit, manage what they're able to get into. Then they start figuring out that we, you know, are fun to be with versus the environment. And the way we do that is the dog starts paying attention to us in that environment. We say yes immediately, backing up to kind of trigger some movement, which is more motivating for a dog. And then we drop our, like for us, we'll use our left hand, drop our left hand with some food in it. Dog can come up, chase our hand, grab the food, good to go. You know, that's 1 repetition, right? So we're gonna do that hundreds and hundreds of times so that the dog begins to be conditioned to the fact that when we say yes, that means you come to me, you're gonna get some type of reward. You know what I'm saying? And then we're gonna do that in a couple different areas around the house, in the house, outside, front yard, backyard type deal, just to kind of proof that engagement. You know, once we have that, we'll go to the next step. But do you guys have anything in addition to add on to, you know, we're starting off engagement,
Yes.
we're conditioning the word yes.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. So even if, like, you know, you come out of the yard, they're continuing to blow you off, you know, we can start at the lowest level. As you said, we can do it in the house. Do it where they're comfortable. Teach them that association, that positive association with you, that fun time. Eventually bleed it out into the yard, because what are you doing to your yard at that point with engagement? You're socializing them to the yard.
Yeah.
You know, making them more comfortable. And that translates across all environments later on.
Yeah. And then other things, so what I would add is you need to be in it as well, right? So we've done this a lot with people, and it's not for everybody, so I'm not saying this is something you have to do, but you know, we've taught this to people and they're just, you know, yes, nice and really boring. You know, like if you're not having fun, your dog's not going to be having fun. Movement is motivating to your dog. You know, we like to move very sporadically, very quickly, and we'll do different directions, have them where they almost get it. We'll you know, move it out of the way so they miss it and have to come and chase it again. So, you know, the more into it you are, the more into it your dog is going to be, and that can help you as well.
You throw in a few goods in a row, get them anticipating that yes, you know, they want it, it's building, and you get that nice explosive energy. That's a good way to do it too.
Oh yeah, that's critical what you just said too about you've got to be in it. That takes us back to this has to be fun for you and your dog.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
This shouldn't be oh man, I got to go do engagement again.
Don't go out to your yard and like be on your cell phone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And try and do this. You got to put your phone away, you know, get out there. It's you and your dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you focus on each other and you have a good time. You know what I'm saying? This is the foundational piece to proper socialization. You know what I'm saying? All right. So we kind of talked about how we're going to condition the word yes, how we're going to use that. Remember, when we say yes, we're backing up, dropping a hand with food in it. The dog comes up, gets that food. Okay, let's talk about the second word, which is good. Kevin already kind of alluded to how we're going to use that a little bit. But the word good, if the word yes means I back up and you chase me for food, the word good is going to mean that you stay where you're at and I will deliver food to you. Okay, so if the dog, at this point, whenever I take my dog out to my training area, and, you know, quick pause there, you're not going to do this in one day. It's going to take multiple training sessions over a couple days. You know what I'm saying? So when you do get to the point where you go out to your training area, your dog is automatically looking at you because they know what's going on, and you say yes and they're chasing you for the food, now you're ready to go to the next piece, which is the word good, right? So I go out to my training area. At this point, my dog's locked onto me, they're looking at me, I say good. But in this time, instead of just backing up and letting them come to me, I say good, I step forward to them and I deliver food essentially to their muzzle with my hand, right? So I say good, give them the piece of food right below their nose, right where their mouth is, and they can grab it right there. So what we're teaching them is, when I say good, I will come to you and give you a reward. You stay where you're at. If I say yes, you can chase me, come to me for the reward. Does that kind of make sense? What do you guys have to add on that?
I mean, this could be, you know, if you're looking for kind of like a schedule to do this in, you know, you just want to do it a few times a day, you can use their feeding schedule.
Yeah.
Have their food in your pouch, you know, their breakfast, take them out, 15, 20 minutes of this, you know, good to go. They ate, you provide them with their food that they need for that day until the evening, and then you can come out in the evening and do it again.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know, it just becomes just a schedule thing. You kind of lose track. Before you know it, hey, you're ready to move on to another environment. And we can use more high value rewards, you know, if we need to, treats, you know, meat rolls, toys, whatever later on.
Yeah.
But you could start just with their basic feeding schedule.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did that for weeks with my dog when I was training Vader, and you know, I remember, like, I'd take him to these different environments. It's almost like when we were working on our downstay, he would not look at anything else. He'd just be, boom, locked onto me. That's from that engagement. You know, doing all of his meals were, you know, in some type of socialization setting, that kind of thing. So, and that's what, you know, kind of spoke to me. I was like, wow, this stuff is powerful, you know. So,
yeah, you don't really understand the power of what we're talking about unless you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So if you're listening to this or you're watching this video, you know what I'm saying, go out, give this a shot, and don't be a one and doneer. You got to do this for several days. You'll start to see it, trust me.
But I did it for a day, and then I took my dog to the dog park, and he just blew me off.
Yeah, so that brings up a good point. Like, don't expect it to be like that. That's why we're specifically saying, do this at your home, somewhere like you said, Kevin, where your dog is comfortable, and build it up. And then we'll talk about what we're going to be doing next for the socialization piece, is going out to different locations, and you're going to slowly ramp up the level of socialization or competing motivators / distraction that's going on around you to ensure success. You know what I'm saying? All right, so first we got the engagement at our house. We've conditioned the word yes, we've conditioned the word good. Those are what we call reward markers. We're not going to go into detail on that, but it's a simple communication system, okay? So now what we need to do to increase the socialization is to go or get ourselves and our dogs somewhere in vicinity of whatever it is we want to socialize into. So that could be something as simple as your vacuum in your house. What if your dog used to attack your vacuum? What if your dog used to, you know, River, we just had him out here on Saturday. He used to attack the vacuum. You know, he's good to go now. What about, you know, if your dog's scared of the vacuum? You know, dog wants to run away. We need to socialize our dog to that, and we can do that in our house. You know, what about drones? I hear people talking about my dog's scared of drones, or they want to attack the drones, you know.
babies,
cars.
you name it.
Other people, other dogs, lizards, all this stuff, you know. So this is stuff that we're socializing our dogs to. So first we just need to get in vicinity of whatever it is. You know, vet office, you know, Miles, that dog that we just trained recently, Miles, as soon as they'd walk him to the vet, he'd put on all the, he's a big dog too.
Yeah.
You know, they put on all the brakes, and they could not get him to go in there, you know what I'm saying? And now through training, we socialized him, and, you know, I've done a couple follow-up sessions with the owners, and that's what we did. We went over to the vet office, we did a happy visit where you just walk around, and we socialized him even more to the vet office, and now he don't even care. He just walked through, whatever, good to go, you know what I'm saying? So that's the power of what we're talking about, okay? So let's take a, excuse me, let's take a couple of examples of socialization. Let's talk about some common myths with those examples, and then, you know, how we're going to do it properly, right? So example number one, if we're talking about people, you know, because everybody says you get your puppy, you know, introduce them to as many people as possible, you know, get them around people, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying that's 100% wrong. I'm saying you need to do it the right way to ensure success through socialization. So a myth with that would be, okay, number one, if I allow my dog to just go up and run up and greet everybody and anybody that we see, number one, my dog could get spoiled because they think they need to see everybody. And this could be an issue because in the future, if my dog sees somebody and I don't want to go over there, I want to walk by, my dog might start barking, screaming, howling, pulling to get to that person because I spoiled them from a young age or an early age, or like if I have an adult dog that I rescued, you know, and they're older, even from the time I got them, that's their expectation. Hey, everybody I get to go over to and to see, so they're gonna demand that, you know? So that can be an issue if I do that, you know? The second piece is my dog could be very scared or nervous, you know? Every time I see somebody, they always put their hands in my face. They're always touching me. They're touching all over my body. I don't like that. You know, dogs have personalities too. You know, I don't like being touched that much I don't like being touched by strangers and all this kind of stuff.
Just us.
So, you know, your dog could be the same way. They don't want to be touched, you know, but now we're forcing people to touch them, which makes them insecure, makes them nervous, also can cause aggression in the future because they're like, all right, nobody's leaving me alone. I have to take matters into my own hands, you know. Now people are leaving me alone, so I'm going to start barking and growling and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You guys have anything to add on to those 2 points?
Very, very, very common, you know, in the training world, especially, you know, as we do our distraction sessions. You know, I'll take one, for example, Arrow. He was just, you know, a social puppy. He was allowed to go up and greet anybody he wanted, especially loved kids. He loved being touched. He was, you know, he's a good dog for that. But it needs to be, you know, when I allow it. So as I went through distraction work, using engagement, started laying the groundwork. Got to bring them back to me. You can interact when I tell you to. But other than that, you know, you can't deviate from this position or, you know, just go out. Because maybe that person doesn't want to interact with you. Maybe that person's giving off some negative vibes. Then the dog's going to feed off it. Then you have an interaction that's just bad. And when you're doing that, there goes your whole socialization session right there. You just turned it into a negative. So
You have to be in control at all times of the environment. You know, so like there's no. It's a myth. Like you don't have to just go, hey, you're a stranger, come pet my dog. Hey, you're a stranger, come pet my dog. Like you don't use people, yes, but I like to use people that I can control. Now, that sounds kind of weird, but you know what I'm saying? Like I'll use you guys or somebody that understands what we're doing, what your mission is. Use your family members. You can explain to them what you're doing, and you can kind of control their energy level, right? What do most people do when they see puppies? Oh my God, right? And what's your dog going to do? Respond to that energy level, right? So with all of this, you put yourself in control. Don't feel bad telling people, hey, no, you can't pet my dog, right? That's not going to ruin him at all. As long as you're doing these steps and doing it the right way, you're in control at all times.
sometimes you have to tell them a few times.
Yeah.
Because they're hyper-focused, they're locked
tunnel
in.
vision
You know?
on puppies.
Sometimes I get angry too. I can't pet your dog. I can't pet your dog.
It's like, no, she's wearing this do not pet vest for fun, you know?
Yeah, but that doesn't apply to them, obviously.
Well, another reason why you don't want your puppy or your dog just interacting with everybody is because, you know, like you talked about, tunnel vision. My puppy's jumping on them. If I allow my puppy to jump, you know, at a young age or at an early age in their time with me, guess what? Now they're developing that behavior. They're practicing muscle memory. It's going to be a habit. These people are touching my puppy or my dog, therefore reinforcing that bad behavior, that bad habit, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, just don't do it because you don't want to reinforce those bad behaviors. Build up your behaviors. Take time. Socialize in vicinity, you know what I'm saying, before you start the interaction stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, that's crucial, you know, because that's a very time-sensitive thing. So, like, I used to take Lulu over to Dad's, put her in a downstay, and Dad is one of her favorite people. So I'm like, all right, come up and pet her. If she decides to deviate, the second that she attempts to do that, stop petting her. You know, you tell a stranger that, they're just like, the dog's standing there still petting, reinforcing the wrong mindset, you know.
Yeah. When you're trying to explain to people, their mind is already on, hey, I'm petting your dog, right? So you can't explain it.
Yeah, that goes along with what you said earlier about, you know, use people that you can control, you know, like your friends,
Mind
people,
control.
your family, your family, friends, people that, you know, that
are going to respect you.
That respect you, that understand what you're trying to do. And sure, you know, you could let them pet your puppy, and then if they start, you know, all right, stand up, turn around, walk away from them. As soon as all 4 paws are on the deck again, then you can come over, pet them again, you know, stuff like that.
The floor that's the floor, in case you guys didn't know.
Navy terminology. All right, so what's the right way to do this? You know, so we're talking about people. All right, so the right way would be, you know, first we start off just in vicinity of people. So let's say we want somewhere where there's not too many people, you know what I'm saying? So let's say a park, for example. There's gonna be some people walking around, yep. Might be some tennis players, might be picnic tables, whatever. So going there, taking your puppy out around those people, not too close, you know, but you got eyesight of them, and you're doing this engagement stuff. You know, your puppy's looking at you, you say yes, you back up, you give them a piece of food, you know, they're chasing you for that, building up, you know, good experience between you and your puppy. And then same thing, they look at you, you say good, you step to them, and you give them the food in that case, right? So those are the two things we're gonna be doing. And then we slowly, over time, and again, it's not gonna happen in one training session, it's gonna take time, and these training sessions could be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, not that long. Go out to the park, you could do it in your neighborhood. Yep. You know, you got your neighborhood community center, you got people out going on walks, you can do it, you know, where you know people are gonna be moving around at. You're just trying to get around people, in vicinity, in eyesight, you're playing with your puppy with engagement, and you slowly, over time, you get closer and closer and closer to these people. And then once you're comfortable with that, then you go to the next type of environment, like a medium type of environment, like a hardware store, or like a festival or a farmer's market. That would be, you know, getting into heavy types of distraction, but you kind of slowly increase your distance to those things until you're like within the crowd and you're doing the engagement. Your puppy's just staring at you, you're saying yes, you're giving them food, they're chasing you, you're saying good, you're rewarding them where they're at, you know what I'm saying? And then once you have that, then you can start going into the interaction stuff, you know, only when you and your puppy are ready for it, you know, but there's a lot of work to do between starting it and getting them used to being around people, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. What do you guys have to add on top of that?
Yeah, so like you said, you know, it's a level thing, you know, don't do a session in your house, a session in your yard, one in your neighborhood, and then go to a sweet tea festival. Yeah, you know, right. you gotta work up towards it. And this is one of those things that even, you know, post-training needs to be maintained, needs to still be practiced. Yeah. Like this is not something you just do and you're done.
This is a lifelong.
Lifelong.
I mean, as long as you guys have been doing it, you know, and I've been doing it for about a year now, I still use it, you know? So it's just not one of those things that you just drop and like, oh, we're good now, you know?
Yep, this is a lifelong thing, you know what I'm saying?
So one thing you kind of touched on, you talked about building your distances, so something to consider as well. Every dog is different, and so thinking, like you may be that dog owner that's just now getting into this and you got an older dog. Maybe you're already dealing with some issues, you're wanting to re-socialize, right? You know, you have to be mindful of your distances. So if you start doing this and you end up, you're like, all right, let's, you know, I'm good in the driveway, I'm gonna go to the farmer's market. Your dog doesn't take food, right? This can be an indicator your dog is too stressed, too anxious, too insecure. You're not gonna have a productive session at that point. You need to back off your distance until they will take food, until they're in a comfortable pace, and then work closer from there.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, the key there, I think what you were talking about, the key is if your dog's not taking the food, they're stressed out. Yep. So you got to increase your distances, slowly build up your dog's, you know, comfort level in that type of environment.
Another key point is finding that threshold. So as I go to a new environment, as I take my dog out, where is he kind of paying attention to me, and where do I kind of lose him? Like, where is that area where he begins to hyper focus and stop paying attention to me? At that point, I know, hey, right around this environment, right around this area, this is where I need to start, you know, and then, you know, slowly work your way through, like you said, until you can get close. I mean, but we're talking, you know, days and days and days. Yep. So, you know, take your time. This is extremely important. You know, so definitely
big
take
one
your
right
time.
there. Take your time. There's no rush on any of this stuff. So it's not like, oh well, you know, my neighbor did this and they were done in 2 weeks. You're never done to begin with. You're never done with this process. But take it slow. Take it slow. Have fun with it.
Exactly. All right, let's touch on one more example that most people are going to deal with. So most people are going to deal with two things. They're going to be dealing with other people, then they're going to be dealing with other dogs. Right. That's probably the two most important things to socialize to. Different locations is easy, you know, that's just going different places. Like we already talked about, distances, thresholds. If my dog's stressed out, like if I go to Lowe's or Home Depot, there's a slick floor. My dog's stressed out by that. I need to slowly get them accustomed to that, you know, build up the engagement, all right? But let's focus on dogs. All right, so this kind of goes hand in hand with people, you know, that one of the main common myths is I need to let my dog interact with as many dogs as possible. You know what I'm saying? From the time I get them, I just need to expose them, let them play with any dog possible. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Recipe for disaster.
Yep. So again, number one, just like with people, if my dog gets used to greeting, playing, doing whatever with every single dog we see, they get spoiled, and in the future they demand to see dogs. And this is a reason why we deal with a lot of reactive dogs. They're reacting because they had this foundation where you just have to go see every single dog. Now every time they see a dog, the owner doesn't want to go over there, and the dog's barking, you know, getting crazy, getting aggressive, all this kind of stuff, because they think they have to go over there and see that dog. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one as far as why you don't want to do that. You know, you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, even if your dog knows, you know, proper play procedure, was properly raised, all that good stuff, you know, who's to say that that other dog does?
Right.
You know, every dog has a backstory, and it all affects how they behave, which I know we'll touch on later.
Yeah.
But I mean, at that point, you lose control of the environment, you lose respect of the dog.
Yeah.
You know, so just not a good idea.
Yeah, so I mean, think about, like I touched on, you know, having to be in control of your environment at all times when we were talking about the people. Think about a dog park scenario where you've got 5, 10, 15, 20 dogs all off leash, running all over the place, and you let your dog, first of all, they're swarming the gate, right? You got them all at the gate, and you're throwing your dog into that environment where you have no control over. Most of the owners there don't have control over their own dogs, right? Yeah, they don't. They're not even. They're in the corner, you know, on their phone, whatever. And their dog is clearly showing some dominant personality, getting aggressive, and they're doing nothing. You know, so you're not in control there. You're going to cause issues. I know because I was in that boat. That's what I did with my dog, was let him loose in the dog park. Then he became aggressive, right? So you have to be in control of your environment. Must.
Even if that situation doesn't get too out of control, like even if you're able to intervene and separate it, you still have that reinforcement at that point.
You've already, the experience has happened.
Once it happens, it's like that.
I love it how when you watch someone walk into a dog park, all the other dogs are at the gate waiting for them to come in, and they just bombard that dog before they even get a chance.
Yeah, like imagine if that happened every time you went to Walmart, right? Yeah, like you're just trying to get some groceries, and yeah, like dude, I'd be a ticked off.
What if
dude
that
all the
happened
time.
to what if you're a parent, you know, of a human child, not just a dog child, and that happened to your kid at school?
Yeah.
You know, you drop your kid off at school, and all these kids are they start going crazy.
Yeah.
You'd be calling the principal. You know what I'm saying?
But you know, that goes hand in hand with looking at it from your dog's perspective. So you let your dog in the dog park, he gets bombarded, redirects, gets upset, and then you want to tell him no, and you're going to correct him for it.
Yeah.
It just causes some confusion at that point, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, so that's one reason why we don't want to let our dog do that. Go up and greet every single dog, you know, from day one. Another reason is, like we've already kind of touched on, you know, people, just like dogs, you know. If my dog's getting nervous about meeting people, my dog can be nervous about meeting other dogs, and those other dogs could be aggressive themselves, dominant, insecure, and they can be doing those types of behaviors towards my dog, which my dog may react in a bad way, and like we've already touched on, reinforce bad behaviors, create bad experiences. What are we trying to do in socialization? Create positive experiences. So now we're, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you know, if you know what you're looking at, you see that dog coming up to your dog, you're like, all right, this dog is not good. You know what I'm saying? Not a good dog to interact with. You know, that dog may correct my dog for no reason. You know what I'm saying? It may dominate my dog for no reason. Now my dog's trying to get around that, you know, that type of thing. So again, this is why this is a myth. Just let your dog run up and greet every single dog, interact with every single dog. You need to be careful about this. This is very, very important, you know. So get your dog around areas where there's other dogs. The process is the same for people as it is with dogs as far as socialization goes. Get your dog around areas where you can see other dogs at a distance, but you're not interacting with them, and play engagement with your dog, you know, have them look at you, yes, you know, good, that kind of thing. And then slowly over time, increase or decrease your distance to those dogs and distractions until you get to the interactive phase. And when you do get to the interaction piece, make sure you're interacting with dogs that are healthy for your dog, who are compatible for your dog. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know what to look for, you can ask a trainer, you can ask someone experienced with dog behavior to kind of help you understand what to look for as far as other dogs, you know. But dog parks can be great for this. This is why we like dog parks. The only reason why we like dog parks is so we can train, use them for socialization, all that type of stuff. You got people moving in and out of that dog park, you know, and you can.
You got dog fights going on.
Yeah, you got dog fights going on. You got dogs running away from their owners, all kinds of bad stuff happening. But that's a good training opportunity for you and your dog, you know. What do you guys have to touch on that?
So when you do get to the interaction phase, just like we talked about with when you get to the interaction part with people, right? You use people that you can control or people you trust. You can do the same thing with dogs, right? Use maybe family members' dogs that you know. Like I've personally trained my brother's dogs. One of my dogs I'm not going to let interact with Vader. One of them I will let interact with Vader. I know that, you know, my brothers can control their dogs and will, if I see anything that we don't like, we can immediately separate that. You know, immediately go into a recall. We can, and we know we're in control of that environment at all times. You know, I'm going to use dogs that I like their body language that I'm seeing, but I also trust the owner of that dog. They're paying attention just as intently as I am, and you know, are just as interested as I am in having a positive experience.
I think that you know, we as people, we as humans, you know, need to get away from this idea that, oh, it's a dog. You know, dogs like to play together. They're fine. You know, every dog is different personalities, potentially different issues, different behaviors. You know, we just really need to be able to read them and to know what we're dealing with before we make a bad situation worse.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, so the process of socialization, we talked about two examples. People and dogs are probably the most common one people are going to be dealing with. We touched real quick on different locations, such as a hardware store with a slick floor, how you're going to kind of work through that. But essentially, the whole process of socialization is the same, whether it's an item like a Dremel that you're going to be grinding your dog's nails with, a vacuum, people, dogs, children, anything, it's all the same. And the fact that you're going to do engagement first, right? You're going to be doing engagement, teaching your dog engagement at your house first, and slowly increasing the level of distraction or what's going on around you, whatever you're socializing your dog to. So like if it's a Dremel or a vacuum, you're just going to put it at a distance from you at first, and you're slowly going to get close to it, turn it on, you know, go through those kind of steps. But you just have to identify the steps that you and your dog need for that particular item. But anyway, start off with engagement. Slowly over time, decrease your distance or vicinity to whatever that is. And then you go into the interaction phase, or you're actually interacting with that item. Still good reward for good interactions, good behaviors. You control the environment 100% of the time. You make sure you're setting your dog up for success, because setting your dog up for success, you're going to be setting yourself up for success. You know what I'm saying? That's right. All right, that's all we had for this episode. We appreciate you guys. Be sure to check us out. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our website, caninerevolutiondogtraining.com. Whatever you have questions on, let us know. We appreciate you, and I hope you guys have a good one.